You're listening to The Rich Life Revolution with me, Michelle Cooper. My mission is to empower you to step into your next level of wealthy. You'll hear all the deets, a little bit of inspiration, and real life takeaways so that you can create your own rich life revolution. Let's dig in. Hey girl, welcome to the Rich Life Revolution. I'm your host, Michelle, and today we're diving in deep to finding your fulfillment by rebuilding your belief system with my guest, Rafi. So, the financial services is a lucrative industry. I have worked in it. I have lots of connections in that world, and people can make really big money. For people like me and today's guest, Rafi, it's something of a calling, though. We're drawn to helping people in financial need, which means building strong relationships with clients comes easy and sometimes too easy. Passionate financial advisors and accountants can make a lot of money. Absolutely. But we're also prone to losing ourselves in our field, to letting our business and our clients become the nexus of our lives and just sort of wrap around and fit in where they can. When exhaustion and loneliness sets in, or maybe preferably before they do, it's essential to take a step back and reevaluate or risk burning out altogether. That's where Rafi's company, the Peaceful Advisor Lifestyle Program, comes in. Speaking with him on today's podcast is a wonderful experience, and I know that you'll experience just as many aha moments as I did. So let's take a listen. Hey, Rafi, so good to see you. I can't wait to talk to you today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I love your story. I was looking at my notes over here, and it's very similar to my story. And I think it's so important for people to hear others' experiences and changing their life and stepping into, their version of their rich life, whatever that looks like for them. And I look forward to hearing what you're doing now, founder of the Peaceful Advisor Lifestyle Coaching Program, which I want to know all about. So perhaps you can jump in right away and just introduce yourself, share with us where you're from, what you do, and a little bit about your story.
Sure. My name is Rafi Shaik. I'm the founder and the transformation coach here at Peaceful Advisor Lifestyle Program. I'm here based out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Folks who are not Canadian.
Woo woo! All the Canadians in the house.
Yes, up here in the Rocky Mountains, beautiful Rocky Mountains. Always been in the financial services industry. I went to school, I graduated engineering, but never worked, not even a single day. I always joke about it. Went into finance. The world of finance, I naturally gravitated towards that because I'm good at numbers, and it was more kind of a calling for me. So I started my career there, and I was an advisor for almost 2 decades now. Then, as I was building my practice, my business, and helping clients and do all sorts of things, I kind of put my life at the back seat. I always say this: I had my business in the middle and I had my life wrapped around it. And that's when the issues started coming up, whether it was health or mental health, physical health, relationships, everything was taking an impact because I had made my business as the front and center and my life was wrapped around it. I was bending over backwards for the clients and all those things that pretty much every other entrepreneur or an advisor does. That's when I think life has a way of humbling you. It's either by force or by design. I didn't take the design path, so I was forced due to some physical health issues and mental health issues. I lost my dad to COVID in 2020. He was 63 when he passed away. It all made me thinking, what is this all for? For me, it was like a moment of truth. I wanted to make sure, of course, I wanted to have a business. I wanted to serve the humanity. I wanted to serve my clients, but there is a way, an optimal way to do it. So since then, what I did, I made my life in the middle, in the center. Then I wrapped around my business around it. So that's, I made a priority.
Oh, that's such a good perspective. Similar to you, I share my story very freely. My name's Michelle. I'm an overworker. I spent many years in the finance world, in corporate finance, working all around the world. And, when I created my business, I felt like, well, you just got to get to work and do the things. And I realized that I didn't have any boundaries. I would be answering the phone to clients every day, all hours of the day, like, doing all the things I shouldn't ever have been doing for people, but I wanted to support them. And so I totally get your story. And I think, especially when we're working with people and their money, there's so much emotion around that. And so it's like we get extra involved in their life. Like you can become like their therapist, right?
So true, so true.
Yeah. And so now you have a coaching business, and who do you support now?
Now I help other financial advisors to build seven-figure lifestyle practices and take at least 100 days off every year. So that's what I specialize in.
That's so good. I have a lot of financial advisors in my world, so I want to make sure that they know all about you because it is industry that people burn out of, right? It's like that, like real estate is another one. It's a go, 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 right? And people really burn out. And I think that sometimes when people get into those kind of industries, they think like, oh, this is something I can do around my life, but it becomes their life. Is that your experience?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because when you start, like no one wants to start in the business. Oh yeah, I won't have any life. It's all gonna be business because the money is so lucrative. You make good amount of money, especially if you have a lot of passion towards it. Then you can go, go, go. Then after a very long time, you realize that you're on a hamster wheel. You're basically running on a treadmill. You aren't going anywhere. You are in a parking lot. You're pushing on the gas. You're putting pedal to the metal. But you realize you look outside and it's like, I'm still in the parking lot.
Right. Totally, right?
What am I pushing?
I call it like you're treading water. It's like you're not going anywhere. You're just, you're going in a circle. Like you're just treading water.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the moment of truth for me. Then I went on a journey looking for answers. There should be a better way of doing this. It can be like this. It shouldn't be like this because we are programmed in such a way. Oh, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business, you have to hustle, you have to grind, like you have to put. I was reading this book, the book called The Principles. I'm not sure if you read it's by Ray Dalio. He says one thing which stood out for me in the book was question every assumption that you have, every single assumption. For me, it's just like five words. It just blew me out of the water. That was even today, it's been years now. I question everything. Like, why is the way I comb my hair like this? And when I looked into it, it's all boils down to one thing. It's your belief system. It's your system. It's the story that you tell yourself. Why is that you like pizza over pasta, or why is that like you like sushi over ramen noodles? Like whatever, every single thing, there is a belief system. And unfortunately, 80% of our belief system is built before age 6, 7. I'm like, that's a little too late now to go back. But there are ways, there are techniques that you can use. I call it read, write, meditate strategy. So we all wanted to go to gym, like, work on the physical aspect. And I believe the mental workout is as important, if not more important, than the physical workout.
For sure. I remember one of the first books I ever read, which opened my world to mindset. This was quite a few years ago, was the book Mind Gym. And it was actually a book that was given to me by my coach. I played a competitive sport and we were trying to get to the next level kind of thing. And so he gave us all a copy of this book and he's like, 50% of our results are based on what you guys even believe is possible. for yourself and for the team. And I was like, what is he talking about? It's just we get on the track and we do our thing, and sometimes we win and sometimes we don't. And but I was like, okay, I'll read the book. And I was like, what? Results are based on what I believe, and the beliefs that I have are formed, throughout my whole life, but many of them are formed before I even know I'm forming them. And then I started questioning things. I started questioning, like, well, if I have beliefs about what's possible for me physically in a sport, what about other stuff? Like what's possible for me in my career or in a relationship or my business or with my kids or, like all of it and everything came under question. Is that something that you went through?
Yes, absolutely. So I look at when I was on this journey to kind of rediscover myself. And I was one of the most successful advisors in the country, in all of Canada. And still, I wasn't feeling fulfilled.
Yeah, right. Like you had the money, but you weren't fulfilled.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, once I get at the top, I'm gonna feel fulfilled. Once I start making seven figures, then I'm gonna be fulfilled. It wasn't the case. Once I reached the top, it was lonely. It was so damn lonely. And I hated every bit of it because everyone was resenting. People who used to talk to you before, like now they don't want to talk to you because like you have gone a little bit above, and you gain that competitive edge over them. And it all started to me, and I look at those belief system as a four fundamental things that it impacts your health, wealth, relationships, and personal development. Since then, whenever I observe myself and I look at these aspects, if I'm looking at, okay, my relationship with my spouse, what is the underlying belief system? Why is that I feel this way? Why is that I do things this way? So I dig deeper in my meditations, I go back, then I find it, okay, this was the reason. Same thing with my kids. When I was growing up, my dad was an army veteran. He was always deployed, and I used to see him only 40 days a year. And for me, my mom was everything. And we were three brothers. I was the second of all three. And growing up, I didn't had that father figure in my life. Now, when I look at my kids and I do certain things, then I kind of zoom out and why did I do this? Then it goes back to my childhood. Like it goes back to the same thing. Like 80% of that system is built before age 6, 7. It could be simple things. Now I'm very cognizant when I'm doing any things with my kids because I'm basically building their belief system. I've gone this rabbit hole. I'm an avid reader. I read like 100 books a year. That's how crazy I am. And I've looked deeper into this psychology of how the belief systems are formed and how it impacts success in life. It is not just financial success. I call it three things. You need income, you need freedom, you need impact. If you don't have these three things in whatever work you do, you won't get fulfillment. Those are the three fundamental things. That's why I say to like any entrepreneurs or financial advisors, just don't focus on income. Of course, we all want income. You cannot be the light to the world if you cannot pay your light bill. And I strongly believe that. As simple as that. We wanted to make crap load of money. Absolutely. That is there. And we wanted to create impact. We come across someone, we have that 1 hour conversation with them. We wanted to make sure that we touch their lives, especially people who work in the money, the finances, as you mentioned. It's more emotional. You're going into their lives. They're opening up to you probably the deepest and the darkest fears that they probably won't be even sharing with their partner, their spouses, their kids. Those are the things that they're sharing with you. So that's the kind of impact that I'm talking about. Of course, while we are doing all this, we want to have a life as well. You cannot be checking phone at Saturday 10 p.m. Oh, like the client sent me an email. Okay, let me respond to that.
Oh, totally, totally. And like, when you talk about beliefs and where these things come from, I found in my own journey, right? Like, I'm the daughter of immigrant parents from Europe, and, they came to Canada with nothing, nothing at all, right? And my dad actually came. I was born here, but my brothers were born in Europe, and my dad came first, and he basically came to Canada because it was free. They gave you free passage. He could have gone to Canada or Australia, and Australia was like $10 or something, and Canada was free. And so he was like, "Well, we're going to Canada then." So he came out about 6 months ahead of my mom, and started working on the railroad, and, did whatever he had to do. I don't know. Ended up in the commercial fishing industry. And then sent for my mom, and my mom came out with my brothers, and then I was born in Canada. But there was this belief in my family that you had to work hard, you had to physically work hard, you had to put in the time. Like, money is not easy, Michelle. You gotta suffer, and all that. And I owned that story. And for me, the way I grew up, it was in a commercial fishing family, and there was highs and lows with money. There was really great summers where there was lots of fish and we had tons of money, and then there was times where we had nothing. So I believed that there was this feast and famine cycle with money. And so even though I didn't go into the commercial fishing industry, I went into corporate finance and stuff like that. I artificially created a feast or famine cycle because that's what I believed. Right now, I didn't see it at the time. But when I got lots of coaching on this, and when I looked back and kind of, connected the dots looking back, I was like, "Oh my God, our minds are so incredibly powerful." Like, I wasn't aware of these beliefs. I didn't know this thing was going on, this thing that was like program that was running in my brain. And it sounds to me like you had a similar, like, awakening, like, awareness in your journey, right?
No, a lot of what you're saying is resonating with me right now. And absolutely, that was my calling when I realized that this message has to be spread. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs, financial advisors out there who are thinking this is how it should be. Yeah. No pain, no gain. And I'm like, who said that?
Right?
Who said that?
Screw that person.
I don't know. Like, why is that you have to believe in that story? Because there's always like a chatter going on, the internal talk that we keep talking to ourselves. And that is the most powerful story. The most powerful story in anyone's life is not out there. It's the one that is in that ear, that's talking to you 24/7, every single day, 365 days. What is that story? And most importantly, do you believe that story? Do you buy into that story?
Does the story ever completely go away, do you think?
That's where the meditation comes in. You know, it's not going away. It's being aware that this is a story. So it is all about the perspective. You won't know that you are inside a plane unless until you look outside of the window. You look that you're all in a room, like, all everyone is sitting in their seats and just sitting there because you don't feel anything unless until you look out the window. Oh shoot, like I'm 30,000 feet up there. So that's where that awareness comes in, because I always say that becoming aware is the first step of that evolution process. You want it to evolve, the first step is recognizing. A lot of people, they just go into the sunset, they just die without even realizing these things. And I'm grateful and thankful and blessed that I got this realization at such an early age in my life. I always pray to the universe, like, I don't know what I did in my past lives that, that I deserve to become aware that I was part of the matrix. I was part of the program. That's where it starts. Once you know that it is a program, then you can take steps. It is not going away. Like, it doesn't. Even Buddha says that It's futile to look at these things not to happen. It's not the things that happen, it's what you do with it. Say you're driving and someone cuts you off, the natural tendency is like to get irate. I want to run over them. That's the natural tendency. That happens with everyone. If it is not happening, then you're a sociopath.
Right.
Okay. So, okay, it happens. Now you realize, okay, why did that happen? So he cut me off. So did I hurt my ego? There could be 100 different things. Maybe that person was in a hurry, or I don't know, a kid got admitted in a hospital and got a call from spouse. They had to rush. There could be 100 different things, but is the story, is the narration behind the meaning that we give to that situation, and it comes from that awareness.
Yeah, for sure. It's always the meaning that we give to the situations. So many times people will say, "Oh, well, my clients will come to me, well, money's my problem." I'm like, money's not your problem. The problem's not the problem.
They don't believe that when you say that.
No, and they're like, but it is. I can't pay my bills, right? And it's like, I get it. That's your experience, but that's not your problem. And I think when you can get clear on that and not fight it, that's one of the things I see people do is like, it's like they want to argue for their limitations. They want to fight the reasonableness of this, right? Like, no, no, it is my problem. Okay, well, if you want to fight for your problems, then have at her, because I'm not going to spend my time doing that. We have to get underneath those problems and like what's actually going on. What do you believe, like you were saying? And what's the conditioning you've had in your life? Because it's not like, I think what you're kind of driving home is like, it's not necessarily your fault that you're in whatever experience that you're in. It's your belief system. And even that's not your fault. If we truly believe, like I don't fault my parents or my brothers or anything. Like they were doing their best, right? Like they just everybody does their best, right? Do I know better? Absolutely. So I give my children different information. Doesn't mean that you don't have to work for stuff. But like you said, I love that when you showed like the pen and you're like, I have my life and I build my business. That's what you said, right? I build my business around it. I think so many times we do the opposite. We have our business and we kind of build our life around it, or our job. Like I built my life around my job for years.
This was my observation. Outside of entertainment industry, the finance industry has the highest divorce rate.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
And this is a very lucrative industry, and there's a lot of money here in this industry. If money was the solution, or if that was the fulfillment for people, okay, like I'm happy now, then why is the other aspects of life is being impacted? I'm not saying that that's the sole reason. Divorce could happen for like 100 different reasons, but the majority is because the partners are not able to spend time with each other.
Yeah, and they don't understand each other either.
If your partner is not an entrepreneur driven like you, it's very hard. It's very hard. And it's more than time. I say, people say that, oh, like time is the most valuable currency. And I beg to differ with that. Your attention is the most valuable currency.
Oh, tell me about that.
I used to go with my wife on a lunch date for 2 hours, block the calendar. That was my hard time. And guess what I used to do? Check work emails while she's sitting right in front of me. When I look back at all those things, and I used to tell, honey, just one, like I got to reply to this. Like this person needs my help. Like I have to reply to this. Can you just give me 1 second? I used to cut her off, like in the middle of, like, she would be talking, or maybe she'd be saying something emotionally that would happen, that day, or like whatever it's gonna be. So that's where I say that I wrapped my life around the business, not the other way around.
I love that because, like you said, we can block off time. I found myself doing that. My kids are like, "Can I talk to you about this thing?" And I'm either tired or I've got all these other things going through my head and I'm only half listening. And I'm like, I don't know, just do whatever you think is the best decision. And they're like, it's not what I wanted from you right now. And again, there's a meaning there. There's a belief or a meaning that underlies that, that I think gets in the way of you being present in the moment with people.
Absolutely.
So I love that you bring that into the conversation, because that's a aha for me today. I'm like, oh, one of the things I write every morning, like I in my gratitude journal and my journaling, is like, my intention today is to be present in the moment with whomever I'm with, and like not multitasking, not looking at my phone, not talking to somebody, but checking an email or whatever. Sometimes that doesn't always work out, but you're human, right? But I think setting an intention is an important piece. And I think that's a really important aspect, because I used to think, up until our conversation today, like, time, I can always make more money. I can't make more time. Like, my time is my time, whatever that is. None of us know. But it's like, it's also like, what do you do with that time?
Absolutely. The presence, right? Earlier, we used to clean our house. Then I learned about all about productivity, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be productive. So instead of cleaning my house, I'm gonna hire cleaners. Okay, great. They came in and they cleaned the house. So that gave me 2 more hours every week. What did I do that with those 2 hours? Probably watch Netflix. Probably if I would have spent that time with my partner, with my spouse, cleaning the house, maybe at least we would have spent that time together.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
So that is what one of the things that I teach in the program is our marketing messaging. That's powerful. I don't want it to undermine that. But I can give an advisor or an entrepreneur the best strategy and the best resources and the best software and the plan, everything. But if their mindset is not dialed in, if their perspective is not dialed in, then it's game over. As simple as that. Because you have to learn to be in the moment, in the present. I always say that, okay, you're going into the client conversation. How many times did you interrupt them? Count. Go into this meeting. Your only observation is count how many times you're interrupting. Okay.
That's powerful.
That's very powerful. Then you have a recorded meeting from the previous sessions. Now go back and compare these two. Now, because you're cognizant, okay, I should not interrupt. Probably you would have interrupted them 3 or 4 times in 1 hour meeting. But earlier you would have interrupted them like 30, 40 times. It means you are in the present. So coming back to that intentionality, I personally think the biggest gift that anyone can give to anyone is not their time, is their attention, being present with them. It's like I come home from outside, my garage door opens, my kids come running, and all they want is like the presence.
For sure. I think the basic human need is to be seen, heard, and understood, right? To feel seen, heard, and understood. And if you can do that with people, then you will be an amazing parent, family member, friend, coach, business owner, leader of your team, whatever it is.
That's a superpower. I say, like, what is your superpower? My job, I tend to be in the present moment. So if we block off 60 minutes of time, I'm not gonna check my emails. I'm not gonna check my phone calls. Sometimes stuff happen, but I make sure that it doesn't happen. And that is why I stop looking at the phone after 6 p.m. Like no phone after 6 p.m.
Yeah, I do that too. It's around 6. I actually this is funny. I bought an alarm clock for my bedroom, and when I go to have dinner, as I sit down to eat, I put my phone on plugged into the charger in my living room with the screen down, and I don't pick it up again, because I now have an alarm clock in my bedroom that will wake me up when I need to get up, and I figure I've put in enough hours today. I don't need to, be talking to clients at 8 o'clock at night, and like, that's the thing about boundaries, right? Like, I came to learn that I did not have boundaries with people. I did not have boundaries about anything, about money or like anything with people. I was all over the place. But when I learned and like really understood that by setting a boundary for yourself, sure, you're protecting yourself, but you're also empowering the other person.
Wow. That's so powerful. That is really, really powerful. Yeah, it's not just for you. It's for them too.
Yeah, it's for them too, right? I didn't see it that way. It felt mean to me, like, oh, I wasn't helping them. I wasn't available. And a coach helped me see, like, well, if you don't run to their rescue all the time, Michelle, are you empowering them to get their own shit together? Right. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess for some people, if they choose that route, some people won't, and that'll be okay. They'll just be mad at you and, they'll be like, I don't want to be your friend anymore or whatever because you're not doing what they want you to do. But that was a game changer for me for sure. Do you work with clients? I imagine financial advisors, like, you have the whole compliance piece and you understand those kind of legal boundaries, but I'm sure they're like everybody else in business where they're running all over the place trying to make people happy.
Yeah. I actually love compliance. There is a reason why it is in place. I used to work for one of the largest banks here in Canada, and compliance was the front center and like everything, right? You can't even sneeze without letting compliance know. But again, you can come up with the strategies how to work with that. So you can build the systems. So there are tools available out there. When my dad passed away in 2020 due to COVID, I couldn't attend his funeral because it was like peak of COVID. And it was very emotionally a big jolt for me. And back then I did not have the resources. I did not know the tools because you don't know what you don't know. And when I set out a journey to kind of learn all these things, like how do I process my emotions? Like, why is my business stuck at a certain stage? You always look back, say you played competitive sports, you understand better. As a player, you come to your best and you always drop off from there. And there is no worse feeling than knowing that deep down you could do better and not able to do it. That was exactly my feeling. That was exactly my feeling. I know, like, I am this big behemoth that I could do, but I'm able to just do this much. That's when I set out, okay, productivity, okay, Pareto principle, like 80-20. What are the things that 20% which are impacting 80%? And forget about the rest 20%. If I get to 80% with just doing 20%, that's gold for me right there. So what should my message be? Who are the clients that I wanted to work with? Because you don't want to work with everyone and anyone. Like you just mentioned, a client would say, "Oh, I'm upset with you because you didn't do this." Maybe you don't want to work with those clients. In our program, we teach that you need 50 households who pay you $20,000 annually to generate seven figures, $1 million revenue. 50 households.
Well, that doesn't seem so hard.
But we want everyone. We want anyone. We'll bend over backwards for that person. We tell all these stories, like, we hype ourselves up. We do all these things to land that client, and later they become pain in the butt. And then we are stressed out about it.
Totally. I just went through this today where I had to say, like, well, because I've gone, my business is 14 years old. I kind of feel like I've been around all the swings and roundabouts there is. But I had a client, we were working on a catch up project. And, I think our bookkeeper did a phenomenal job in an extremely tight timeline. And she was complaining that it wasn't good enough. Like like we compiled 4 years of financial data in 8 weeks. And she was like, it should have been done sooner. I'm not happy. And I'm thinking, you're not the right person for us because the right person who aligns with our core values is grateful. And all you're doing is complaining. So I sent her an email and I'm like, I'm sorry that that's your experience. I addressed a couple of things in the email and I said, I just don't think we're a good fit. And so once this project is complete, we're done. And I wish you well. And please get a bookkeeper because you need to solve your problem, which is like, don't do this again. Right.
A lot of entrepreneurs, don't understand the opportunity cost. When you're speaking to wrong people, the time that you're losing, which you could have spent someone who actually really need your help and the value, that's like gold to me.
Yeah, you're so right. The opportunity cost. I need to learn that because I get a lot of people who reach out to me in my business and they want help and I want to help everyone or whatever, but there is an opportunity cost there. And you get those the gut instinct, right? Like, I don't know, this person might not work out. Like, there's something not jiving here or whatever. And I often will ignore that and be like, well, they need our help. Let's jump in and do what we do. And then usually there's something like this situation where you go, oh, right. That's why I had that feeling.
I totally get it. I used to do that all the time. That's what used to burn me out. You can help only so many people. Of course, you want it to help. You can take the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. Yeah, I get calls with booked with advisors who wanted to work, and I am very very meticulous that who I wanted to work with. If I am not 100% sure if I am able to help that person, and if I'm not 100% sure if that person is able to receive that help, I say like three qualities I value in the person that I wanted to work with. They have to be highly coachable, they have to be highly decisive, and they have to be highly resourceful. Forget about the money and all other things we can figure out. But like I'm in the process of helping advisors like to build the business from ground up, like starting from zero. And it takes about 3 to 5 years to build $1 million business. And I have a proven blueprint for that. But if you follow the system and stick to that system, it is not difficult. It is simple. I'm not saying it is easy, but it is simple. We just overcomplicate things by doing.
Well, yeah, and like you said, you spend your time on the wrong people or the wrong things or, whatever, right? And there's a cost to that. And I think that that's just so important. Like, it's not just about business. We can be spending our time on the wrong things. Even that could be watching Netflix, right? When maybe we should just be having a conversation with a loved one or reading a book or going for a walk or.
That's why I cancel my subscription.
Right? How you spend your time. This is such a good conversation. Just before we go, I want to circle back to something you said at the beginning because you mentioned reaching seven-figure business, which is everybody and their dog's dream of, reaching that $1 million mark. And I've had this experience as well. And you're like, when I get to whatever $1 million or whatever it is, I will be happy or whatever. And you get there and you're not, like, nothing changes.
Absolutely. That's the worst feeling.
Yeah, it sucks. Okay. And it's like, it's the biggest letdown. I don't have less problems. Like, I got $1 million flowing through my business, but I don't have less problems. I have different problems. Sometimes, like, having more money makes some things easier. So I might have more credit available to me. I might be able to take bigger risks, but it's not the be all end all biggest solution that I think everybody thinks it is. You made a conscious decision to pivot. Now, you had some situations that happened with your father's death and stuff like that, right? Can you share with us a little bit about that? Because I think so many times people, they get to this point that they think is supposed to be the thing and it's not, but they just keep going in that same direction because, well, maybe it's the next benchmark. Maybe it's the $2 million business or, something like that. But you actually made a pivot. Tell us a little bit about that. Was it scary?
If you don't know, it is absolutely scary. Like I said, like I discovered the tools, I discovered the resources. And when I stumbled upon those, and I am like, Why is no one talking about this? Why is everyone talking about, yeah, you wanted to have like 7 figure, 8 figure business. You have to be that TikTok superstar. Or I'm like more than happy if no one knows me and I make 2-3 million a year. I'm more than happy.
Right? I always say I'm the best kept secret.
I don't give a damn if people know about me or not. If I get to spend time with my family and give my absolute best and be the best version that they deserve to get, and if I can have that kind of money and the freedom, and I can create that impact. That's why I talked about those three things: income, freedom, and impact. If I can get these three things, I'm okay. I am not gonna jump off the bridge. Oh, like no one knows me on LinkedIn, no one knows me on like whatever it is. I'm not a celebrity on the podcast, or you name it. People assume that if I get onto this, it has to make me money. I was talking to an advisor. He was like, Rafi, I've been doing I launched my podcast. I've been doing the podcast for the last 6 months. Like, I'm not getting any clients. Like, my business ain't growing in it. And I'm like, was that the objective for you, to grow the business through the podcast? He was like, yes. Then why is it not reflecting? Did you make the conscious effort to promote your podcast in such a way? Did you hire someone? I always say that you need two things if you are on this journey. You need someone who you can lean on, a coach, and you need a community. That is why in our program, like, we have a mastermind program where we have like-minded advisors who help each other, who take care of each other, who lean on each other. Because we all are going towards the same destination. Why not walk home together?
Totally. Takes a village.
And that is why, if you ask me, Rafi, like, what is your grand vision? My vision is to build that community where the advisors are, the entrepreneurs are helping each other, supporting each other, elevating each other. Because together, rising tide lifts all boats. I want to make sure that I create that platform for them. And coaching, I can't emphasize how big of a part that coaching can play. Having someone look at you, say, you're this bottle, and you have a label. It's very hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle. You need someone, like you mentioned, you have a coach who gave you the book, or who's supporting you, who's talking about mindset. Can you do it yourself? It's as if like being inside the bottle and reading the label outside.
Totally. And I always say to people, like, any strategy can work. It's not strategy. I've had a coach for more years than I could probably count at this point. And I have had different coaches for different things even. And I put myself in rooms, I'm in masterminds with people who are doing big things, and they're making big moves, or what I consider big moves. And that's changed along my journey, right? But unless we are supported in that way, where, like you said, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? We're in a community with people who are lifting us up, they're up here and they're leaning down and they're giving you a hand up. You can't get there alone, right? And a coach is so valuable, somebody to ask questions and dig around in there about what you believe and what you're thinking, your habitual pattern of behavior, and, well, is this serving you? And all of the things that amazing coaches do, it's like the fast track, I think. It's like a shortcut.
I always say that that's the only cut, because it's not going fast, it's going longer. You want to go shorter? Yeah, probably you'll walk alone. You want to make $100,000? Yeah, you can do it by yourself. But you want to go 7 figure, 8 figure, my friend, then I have a news for you. You absolutely. So, listeners, if they're taking anything away from this conversation, I want you to take this away. Having someone in your corner makes a difference of a day and a night. And it comes from a personal experience. It absolutely comes from a personal experience, because this entrepreneurship, it's lonely. This is not like 9 to 5. You punch the clock and you go home. You're putting out fires. You're doing with this. You're doing with that. If you don't have someone who you can lean on, you can talk to, you can confide in, then it's game over. You can't be in this business for too long. That is why, on average, in financial advisor industry, in 3 years, that's if someone is been in this business for more than 3 years, then that's considered like success. 80% of the people who start out, they fall off before 3 years because it is hard. It is not easy.
Such a great conversation, Rafi. Thank you so much for spending this time. I know you took time away from your little people and your wife to share your genius with us. So I'm so incredibly grateful for you. We'll put all of your contact details in the show notes so everybody will be able to find you. But where do you like people to reach out to you?
I'm very active on LinkedIn. I started with Facebook, and I'm not a big fan of social media unless and until, because it's a business. So I have to go where my audience are, not I want my audience to be in. So that's the reason I use Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. But mostly on LinkedIn. They can hit me up on LinkedIn. They can connect me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. And like I said, we'll have all of the deets in the show notes. Everybody can hook up with Rafi and check out all his genius, especially for those financial advisors in my world. I think you're a piece of gold for them.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to today's episode with Rafi. You know, as human beings, we believe a lot of things. And as entrepreneurs, we believe a more specific array of so-called truths. We're told that the quote unquote grind is the only way we'll succeed, and that adopting the hustle culture is the true sign of an entrepreneur, and that making 7+ figures is the be all and end all of our goals. Except maybe your recent experiences, as mine have left you starting to question what you used to believe about the definition of success. My aha moment in this episode was truly understanding that questioning my version of success is totally fine. It's absolutely normal, and it's all okay. I hope you learned so much from Rafi's insights and his touching personal perspectives. Be sure to join me in next week's episode, where we're diving more into money and we're talking about your net worth. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you got at least one gold nugget today. Be sure to grab your copy of the Rich Life Revolution workbook to help you set the foundation for your next level of wealthy. Get it now at richliferevolution.ca, and I'll see you later.